Lee Travis here with Wipliance. I'm excited to introduce you to KT from Sony, and she's got some exciting news to share.
Yeah, so today we're here to talk about RGB TV, and this is really the biggest revolution that we've had in television in decades.
So what's so special about TrueRGB?
Well, our eyes can see millions and millions and millions of colors, and historically, televisions haven't been able to reproduce all of those colors. And so by having more color content, more color volume, we're able to reproduce colors that we've never been able to produce before. And so greens that you've never seen on a TV before, but that you can see with your human eyes, now you can actually see them in your living room. And it's just gonna give you a much more natural look to the television, and you just get more immersed and kind of forget that you're even watching a TV, just because you're just really recreating reality that you see every day.
So how does this compare to other TVs that Sony has produced in the past?
So one huge thing is the brightness. So we actually, Sony actually is involved in every step of content production around the world. And one of the ways that we're involved in it is we actually make the professional monitors that most films and videos are graded on in terms of creating brightness and color intensity. And those monitors are rated at 4,000 nits, which is a very, very high level of brightness. And so there's a lot of content out there that is actually rated at that level of brightness, but TVs really haven't been able to recreate that before. And so with TrueRGB, we're actually able to get to the same level of brightness and color volume that we've been able to do for years on our professional monitors.
So what about balancing color and brightness?
So one of the challenges in traditional television technology is that the backlight is either a white or a blue that's going through a color filter. And so if you have it too bright, or if you have like a specular highlight, it can actually kind of bleach out the color a bit. But because the backlight is also full color, you don't have that problem. So you actually have maximum color volume, even at maximum brightness. And so you're really able to more accurately create those specular highlights and have that, the sun is the color of the sun. It's not gonna get bleached out at all.
So you're saying there's no trade-off between having the best color and the most brightness?
No, just like in real life, you don't trade off color and brightness, right? So because of how TrueRGB works, we're able to really have the best of both worlds.
So let's talk about blooming, and we're not talking about Outback and an onion. Tell me about blooming.
Yeah, so blooming is actually something that has traditionally been a little bit of a challenge for LED and Mini-LED TV. And what that basically is it's light leaking from the backlight that's not part of the image. And historically that's been a problem because the backlight has been either white light or blue light. And so say you have like a red flame, and then around that you may have kind of like a white or blue halo around it. And one of the cool things about RGB TV is because that backlight is color, that glow is going to be like that red flame, just like it would in real life. And so what you have is really more of a natural blooming, which is not a bad thing, which is just how your eye works, where you see kind of that light, glow around a bright object.
So how does this technology compare to other TVs on the market today and of the past?
So I think, up until probably this year, OLED has really been that reference TV. And OLED is fantastic, and people that love OLED are gonna love OLED, and we're definitely not gonna try and take their TVs away from them, and we're gonna still make OLED TVs. But the runway of performance that you're gonna get with OLED is kind of running up against the limit. You can only get so bright with it. It is a little bit limited in terms of color volume. TrueRGB TV actually has about 4 times the color volume that you're going to get with an OLED TV. And we're able to really rival the blacks and probably have more black texture than what you're gonna be able to get with an OLED.
So it was incredible to go to Sony, thanks for the invite by the way, back to Sony headquarters in Tokyo, and see the, all of the product and all the history and products that I'd grown up with. How long has Sony been working on this particular technology?
Well, one could say we've been working on it for decades. I mean, first of all, the Trinitron, was revolutionary in terms of how it extracted color in old tube TVs. But really the genesis of RGB TV was the Qualia. And so that was 20 years ago. We had an RGB backlight on a TV. It really has taken, it was a little ahead of its time. It's taken this amount of time for technology really to catch up. But this has been something, backlight technology and things like that we've been refining over the years that's really culminating in this launch of RGB technology this year.
So how big is the TV behind us?
It's 115 inches.
115-inch TV.
Yes.
What do you think would be the best room in your home for that?
Well, probably a room big enough for a 115-inch TV. We have everything from 50-inch all the way up to 115-inch. So really there's a size that's perfect for any space that you have in your home. So compared to a projector, a projector in a theater is a special thing, right? But when you start talking about trying to have that same experience in, a living room, which might be connected to your kitchen and have windows and things like that, it really is going to give you the brightness that you need to really punch through any ambient light that you may have so that you can create that experience in really any environment.
So with this TrueRGB, Sony talks about precision and control. What does that mean?
So it's really important not only to be able to shine a red, green, and blue lights, but to really know what to do with them, and to know when they need to be dim, when they need to be bright, because we not only have brightness from TVs, you have the contrast, and we need to maintain that. And so we actually have 22 bits of control per color on our backlight, so that we're able to really finely tune, what are the bright specular highlights, what are the dark, and we don't have a lot of color bleed in between to give you that really natural, immersive, realistic image that you're really looking for.
So tell me where TrueRGB really shines.
TrueRGB really shines in every moment, honestly. You could have an image that's really dark and trying to really pick out the nuances and texture. There's always a lot of complaints that a lot of TV shows these days are shot really, really dark, And so being able to see those details, even when it's a dimly lit scene, is always important. And then seeing the true color of the grass in a field, being able to really recreate the colors like green that we've never been able to see before. And then if you think about like a sunset, the heat of the sun, you really see just as much visually as you do feel, and you're really able to see every single color, even in the brightest parts of the sunset. And so it just makes everything feel more realistic when you're watching it, and lets you kind of let go and just experience the video instead of really watching TV.
And we want to feel like we're there.
Yeah. This is all about, entertainment is about coming home and letting go of your day-to-day life and going someplace else. And so TrueRGB really transports you because it is so true to real life.
So with Sony's great history of innovation, tell me how TrueRGB fits into that.
So TrueRGB is really the culmination of our lens to living room story. One of the things that not everybody knows is we actually are involved at every single stage of content creation. We have Sony Pictures, Sony Music. We're actually build the cameras. We are involved even in sporting events in terms of scoring and things like that. And so we really are there at every single moment. And the TrueRGB is really our drive to really recreate the creator's intent and really be the true culmination of that lens living room story, so that you are getting that experience that the creator has when they're actually making the film. So one of the things I love about working with an integrator like Wipliance is it's not just about the TV, right? It's about the entire experience. And so you're able to bring together like a great audio system with the TV, in addition to shades and lighting. And then most important, being able to control all of it, because the last thing you want to do when you want to come home and just like immerse yourself in your favorite TV show is fumble with a bunch of remotes. And so you're able to really bring it all together so that you can just come home, plop on your couch and just chill and get soaked into whatever TV show that you want to watch.